Why does it feel so fast when you're driving a kart? And why does 50 miles per hour in a kart feel so much faster than 50 miles an hour in a road car on the motorway? F1 drivers often say that karting is one of the closest things to actually driving a Formula 1 car. But how is this possible when a car is travelling at a third of the speed? Well, today I'm going over the science to explain why karting feels so quick. And I'm filming this the morning after a big karting session. Now, one of the first things that people talk about with karts is that they're so close to the ground, which is true. A typical kart has about 50 millimeters between the bottom of the chassis and the ground, which is actually pretty similar to a Formula 1 car. But what's important here is the height of the driver's eyes. In a go-kart, this is low, usually around 70 centimeters for a typical adult, as you're basically sitting on the floor. However, in a road car, the driver's eyes are significantly higher. In a typical sedan or saloon car, your eyes sit at about 140 centimeters off the ground. And in a European SUV, it's about 180 centimeters off the ground. And of course, a proper American SUV will be much higher. So that's double and nearly triple the eye height of the kart. And this does make a difference. In 2004, a study examined the effect of the height of the driver's eyes on the perception of speed. They basically moved the position of the driver's head from lower, like with a sports car, to higher, like with an SUV. Then in each scenario, they asked the driver to drive at a speed that they thought was safe and comfortable. But there was no speedo, so the drivers were doing this all through feel. And the majority of the drivers in this study drove faster at the higher eye height than at the lower, indicating that the perception of speed is higher the lower down you sit. And one explanation for this is something called motion parallax. Basically, when you travel at a certain speed, objects that are closer to you feel and look like they're going faster. So the lower down that you are in a kart, the closer you are to the ground and the faster it feels. That makes sense, and I definitely felt that last night. But there's much more to it than that. Take a look at this footage of me driving at Daytona Milton Keynes last night. And I know what you're thinking, there's some excellent racing lines. Well, thank you very much. But the other thing that you might be thinking is that everything around the circuit is actually pretty close. There are tyres, curbs and light posts. Everything is whizzing past the driver. Then, look at this on board. It's a Formula 1 car at Silverstone. And due to all the safety regulations in Formula 1, the barriers are miles away from the driver. And really the only thing that flashes past the driver's eyes are the braking boards. So it's not just about the height of the driver's eyes, it's also about the circuits, and in particular the furniture around those circuits. Just take a look at the overhead view of Daytona Milton Keynes and you'll see that kart circuits are usually pretty twisty, and they often turn back on themselves, and they do this in order to get the most track length possible in a certain area. And because they're twisty and turn back on themselves, the barriers end up being pretty close to the track. And so the driver, which is okay at kart tracks as we're not doing 200 miles an hour going into Copse Corner. But all of this combined, the height of the driver's eyes, the amount of track furniture and its closeness to the car and driver gives a higher perception of speed. There's just loads of stuff whizzing past the driver. Now, you're not going to believe this, but only 21% of you watching this are subscribed. And I want to make better content for you all, but that's expensive and we need sponsors. And sponsors like subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, please just move your thumb down a little bit and click subscribe, and then we'll be able to create better quality content for you. And all of the stuff whizzing past the driver also links with the field of view. The field of view is the observable world that a person sees at any given moment. Put simply, it's what you see in front of your face. And if you're into sim racing, you'll know that getting the perfect FOV is crucial to driving properly. It's so important that we have a number of articles on the Driver 61 website. Anyway, it's also important in the perception of speed. Just take a look at this video. First, we have a wide field of view. Here you can see the posts and building passing by, and it feels pretty quick. However, zoom in a bit and make the field of view more narrow and things seem like they slow down. Then reduce it even further and the train feels even slower. And this is the reason why F1 onboards might look a bit slower than they should really do, or why racing games also feel steady. It's all in the field of view. So the wider FOV, the faster it feels. And there's no wider FOV we can experience than what's natural to us, which is 200 degrees horizontally and 130 degrees vertically. But it's not all about visuals. We feel speed too. Although that's not entirely true. Our bodies can't actually feel speed. But before we explain that, I need to tell you about today's sponsor, Brilliant.org. Brilliant revolutionizes how we learn maths, data analysis, programming, and AI. They have thousands of interactive lessons that enhance your critical thinking skills through problem solving, which are key elements on the racetrack and in real life. With courses designed by experts from leading institutions such as MIT, Microsoft, Google, and more, Brilliant helps you build real knowledge in minutes a day, with fun lessons you can do whenever you have the time. It's the opposite of mindless scrolling. Brilliant is where you learn by doing and is designed to be uniquely effective. And they recently launched a ton of new content in data, all of which uses real-world data to train you to see trends and make better informed decisions. You can sign up today using the link in the description or the QR code on screen to enjoy 30 days of free access and a 20% discount on the annual premium subscription. Okay, so now back to why we can't necessarily feel speed. Just think about when you're on an aeroplane. You're traveling at a constant 500 or something miles per hour, but it feels like you're not moving. So what we might call the feeling of speed in a kart or a car is actually acceleration. And that's acceleration in the terms of the technical definition, the rate of change of velocity, not only accelerating away from the lights. So that's acceleration when braking, turning, or well, accelerating away from the lights. And of course, we're also feeling vertical acceleration over bumps and crests. So as long as everything is perfectly smooth, it's possible to be traveling at 1,000 miles per hour but have zero acceleration. So if you were blindfolded, you wouldn't even know. Now, that's all pretty simple, but I just want to explain a little bit more about acceleration. Speed is a scalar measurement. It only has one magnitude. Basically, how much of something there is, without any reference to direction. For example, if you're traveling at 60 miles per hour, that speed tells you how fast you're going, but not in which direction, and that's a scalar. On the other hand, something like acceleration includes both magnitude, how much, and direction, which is a vector quantity. So if you say a car is accelerating at 10 meters per second towards the east, that's a vector. So let's put that into context on a kart track. Imagine two karts heading towards a corner, traveling at a speed of 40 miles per hour. One corner is pretty wide open and the other is tighter. The acceleration is the rate at which you're changing direction. And in this example, the first corner is less and the second corner is more because it's tighter. And we can measure this acceleration in G-force. The higher the G-force, the faster the rate of changing direction. And you'll know this if you watch your G monitor in Formula 1. So what that means is any change of direction, forward, backward, side to side, or up and down, is actually the sensation that your body feels. But how does this relate to karts feeling so fast? Well, one thing that we haven't covered yet is that karts are actually fast, but perhaps not in a straight line. A rental kart, for example, might realistically do about 50 miles an hour, and a professional kart might do 80, which is really nothing compared to many road and race cars. But karts are quick around corners. They're really light, they've got great grip from the tyres, and they have a low centre of gravity, which means a professional kart might pull up to 3G in the corners, similar to a Formula 3 car. People genuinely break ribs in karts due to the amount of grip that they have. And if you've ever taken non-motorsport mates karting, you'll know how they complain for days of aching forearms and necks. So it's the day after I did my kart race at Daytona, and I know I said my non-motorsport friends, but I'd like to change that to include myself because my whole body is absolutely killing me. So karts are quick in the corners, that's right, but that doesn't account for all of the extreme perception of speed. Now, we all know that karts don't have suspension. Yes, the chassis might flex a little bit and the tyres do squash somewhat, but it's nothing like having a road car suspension, or even a race car. So when you hit a curb or a bump in a kart, it's not really absorbed. The kart and your body basically follow the surface of the track, and you feel that a lot. And how this affects your perception of speed is all about something called jerk. Jerk describes the rate at which the acceleration itself is changing. Just think about it like this. If acceleration tells us how quickly speed is changing, jerk tells us how quickly the acceleration is changing. For example, when you're in a kart and you suddenly hit a curb, your body will jump upwards. That's an increase in acceleration, and the abruptness of that increase is described as jerk. So when you hit that bump in a kart that has no suspension and the rate of change of the vertical acceleration is higher than it would be in a car, the jerk is higher. That means you and your body feel it more. And one of the reasons you feel it more is because of your skin. Our skin is split into 3 layers: subcutaneous, dermis, and the epidermis. The epidermis is the outer layer that protects us, and it contains Merkel cells, which react to low vibrations and quickly send information from the skin to the nerve fibers and into the nervous system. Merkel cells are mostly concentrated in sensitive areas like the fingertips, but they're not just there. They can be spread around the entire body. And one area in particular that's important for driving.
The front right tire is a bit soft, which explains why you're weaving so much.
How can you tell?
My ass.
And it's not just Merkel cells in your bum. We have other receptors too, such as tactile corpuscles, which are very sensitive to vibrations between 10 and 50 Hz. And so the go-kart's lack of suspension means that the sensation through your bum is heightened. But it's not just about the lack of suspension, it's also about the lack of protection. In a kart, you're out in the extremities, with only your helmet and, if you're lucky, a pair of overalls. And that's where NVH comes in. That's noise, vibration and harshness. 3 of my favourite dwarves. And this is a big deal in the automotive world, as most car manufacturers are trying to make road cars quieter and smoother, so they can feel comfortable at any speed. And that's fine in a family wagon, but we're karting, we actually want the opposite of that. Scientifically, the human body has different ways of perceiving wider vibrations. Between 0.1 and 20 Hz, we're in the vibration category. That's stuff like the vibration from the engine and any bumps you might feel in the track. From 20 to 100 Hz, we're in the harshness category. And last, from 100 to 20,000 Hz, that's when you get into the proper noise category. Like the engine noise, the tyre noise, and the sobbing of everyone you're overtaking. And as your vision, hearing, and body are absorbing all of these vibrations and noise, it's almost overwhelming, and so it just feels fast. And then add another 20 drivers on the track that you're battling with. And I don't have any scientific proof for this, but it definitely makes a difference. Kart racing is close and there's lots of wheel-to-wheel action, and that's why we love it. And I personally think that when there's more action and when there's more happening on a busy kart track, the thrill and the perception of speed is higher. But maybe I'm wrong, so let me know your experience in the comments. And the other thing about karting is that it's not something we're doing every day, like driving a road car or driving in the simulator. So we're less familiar with being in a kart, meaning it's a novel environment. So all of these combined mean that karting feels so much faster than it actually is. Please check out these are the videos that I think you'll love, and I'll see you in the next one.